according to the time knowledge that we had. But because our knowledge is weak, deficient, therefore it's not necessary that the train will be there on the time that we have recorded. We could have recorded 2 o'clock, it will be there, but instead there was a delay, there was some accident, and the train only came 3 hours later or 4 hours later. So Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala, because His knowledge is perfect, so He has recorded it, meaning that is what we talk about preordained, that this person at such a time, such a place, he is going to do a certain thing, whether good or bad, but he is going to do that using the willpower that I have given to him. Then I will create that action. Allah Ta'ala is the creator of that action. That is Taqdeer. That the person, like now I want to pick up this kitab. So my action that I am going to do is with my willpower. I want to pick up this kitab. So I am going to extend my hand and pick up this kitab. Now Allah Ta'ala didn't force me that I must pick up this kitab. The thought came into my mind, I am using the willpower and I am extending my hand to pick up the kitab. But who gave me the strength now to pick up that kitab? I could have had a lot of desire to pick it up. But if Allah Ta'ala does not put the strength into my hand to extend it and pick up the kitab, then I cannot pick it up. So the creator of that action, the man decided himself. He used his willpower and now he decided to pick up that kitab. So Allah Ta'ala gave him the strength to pick it up. Allah Ta'ala does not make his hand become paralyzed if he is picking up a filthy novel. Allah doesn't make his hand become paralyzed if he is picking up a filthy magazine. Allah Ta'ala doesn't make him blind straight away the moment he is watching something filthy. Allah Ta'ala creates that action so that he may now be punished because of his action, or he may be rewarded because of that action. That is what simply Taqdeer means. Details and all the technicalities and all that, we are not obliged to go into it. It will create a kind of misunderstanding. So this whole issue of being preordained, this is what it means, that Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala has given man willpower. Now that willpower he is exercising, he is using. If he is using it for some good action, then Allah Ta'ala creates that action. And Allah Ta'ala attributes it to him that this person did that good action, so he will go into Jannah. The person who is disbelieving and is doing all haram, so it is that willpower that he used to do that haram. Nobody forced us now and pulled us and dragged us from our homes and brought us to the masjid. Each and every person, he made use of his own intellect, his understanding, his willpower. He looked at the watch, he heard the azan, then he realized that it is time for namaz, so he made wuzu, and then he came to the masjid. And now after the namaz also, many people went away, many people sat. Now it is all the willpower that the person used. Nobody dragged the others out and nobody forced you to sit here. So just as we do all these actions using our willpower, our businesses, our education and everything else, so in the same way this is also Taqdeer, that the person makes an effort when it comes to deen. That is righteous actions and deeds, he will get the rewards. Now wherever Allah Ta'ala mentions that we have declared that they will go Jahannam, or Allah Ta'ala has put a seal on their hearts, what it means is that knowledge of Allah Ta'ala, that in spite of my giving him the willpower, the understanding, in spite of my sending Rasools of Allah Ta'ala, my Rasools, so much so that the greatest of all Rasools, Sayyidina Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, in spite of my making him the family members of some of these kuffar, and they are seeing him every day, and they are meeting him every day, they are looking at his life, how pure and how clean, but because they have made up their minds that they are not going to accept Islam, so Allah Ta'ala says he has put a seal over their hearts, meaning that they are not going to accept. So it's not that Allah Ta'ala sealed their hearts. Allah Ta'ala is informing that it is as good as their hearts are sealed, because now no matter how much you tell them, they are not going to accept. And those are the people Allah Ta'ala say are destined for Jahannam. So destined does not mean that Allah Ta'ala pre-planned it, that he's going to create Abu Lahab for Jahannam. If that was the case, then every person could have objected. So I thought that this, of course there's so much else that we can say, the time is also expiring. So this student, where he says, that my brother was showing me his computer version of Bukhari Sharif, and I happened to come across the chapter on Taqdeer. I read the ahadith in the chapter, and then he says, what I read is that Iman, our actions and our place in Jannat and Jahannam are preordained. This made me depressed. I could not understand how any human being, believer or not, could be accountable for his life. He had no choice or willpower. So if he had no choice or willpower, then there was no need for him to do anything. He should have just waited for everything to happen. But we know that man doesn't operate like that. Everything he does, he uses his willpower. He doesn't just sit relaxed and expect everything to happen. So when it comes to Iman, when it comes to our yaqeen, when it comes to our namaz, our roza, our zakat, our hajj, our ibadat, then Allah Ta'ala's system is that when the person does righteous actions, he does it with ikhlas, then Allah Ta'ala mentions himself. Allah Ta'ala accepts that. Allah Ta'ala nurtures it. If a person gives one dirham with ikhlas, Allah Ta'ala nurtures it. It grows. In the same way, all the other good deeds, the multiple rewards, fasting, Allah Ta'ala gives so much of rewards. Now why is all that? That is because this person is using that willpower of his and is making that effort. So it is on that effort of his that Allah Ta'ala is rewarding him. Now when we say with the grace of Allah Ta'ala and the mercy of Allah Ta'ala, as he mentions here, that he hears the statement that with the grace of Allah Ta'ala, with the mercy of Allah Ta'ala, then indeed, if the person really looks at his life, then that willpower that he has been given, now the exercising of that willpower in accordance with Allah Ta'ala's will. So it is a ni'mat, it is a blessing. When he looks at the others who exercised that willpower and went into wrong directions, they ended up in the cinemas, theaters and discos. What did they do? They exercised the same willpower and they ended up there. So when he looks at his life, that those people, they exercised a willpower incorrectly and went that side. So he is grateful to Allah Ta'ala that, Ya Allah, this willpower that you gave to me, I am grateful to you that I was able to exercise it correctly. Because the gratitude he has to show to Allah Ta'ala, he is the one who gave that willpower. So in his actual fact, it is that gratitude for being able to exercise that willpower correctly. Simply to understand that is what it is. So that is why we say, Ya Allah, it is with your grace, with your mercy, with your kindness that we have been able to make namaz, make zikr, make tilawat, make ibadah. Which means that, oh Allah, this willpower which you gave, we too could have used it for wrong things and wrong purposes. Whilst it was the month of Ramadan, we could have used the willpower to eat and drink. We could have used the willpower to end up in the cinemas and theaters or front of the movies, not making our namazas, our taraweeh, our zikr and tilawat. So we are making shukr to Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala, because He is the one who blessed us with life, with health, with body, with the sight, with the hearing, with the speech, and with all these body parts with which we are doing that action. The body parts Allah Ta'ala has given. Therefore, He is not going to question that person who is majnoon. Why will Allah Ta'ala not question the person who is mad? The madman is not going to be questioned for his actions, that why did you break into that person's shop? Why did you punch that person? Why did you swear that person? Why did you steal that person's money? He is mad. He can't exercise his intelligence or willpower. Or the little child is also marfu'ul qalam. Or the fast asleep person. Now in the sleep, if the person is punching somebody, kicking somebody, and blowing somebody's head, or committing adultery or fornication, or the person has given talaq upon talaq to his wife, has anybody considered that talaq as valid? If the person in his sleep, fast asleep, he had a big argument with his wife and he gave her 100 talaqs. Now when he gets up, did any mufti in the world give fatwa that those talaqs that you gave to your wife in your dream is valid? If that was the case, we do not know how many divorces we would have had. Because after an argument they go to sleep, then they dream of that argument. So while they were awake and alive and alert, they were careful, they didn't want to use the word talaq. But now in the sleep they fire the bullets one way. So again it shows that because they had no control over their willpower, that is why they are not going to be questioned for what happens in the dream or what happens in to the